What is happening, y'all? Welcome back here to the Bass All Year channel. Appreciate y'all tuning in again today. And we're just out here in gracious Florida weather, because there's just no better way to bring in the Florida spring than with a rainy weekend. But the past other 3 weekends that I've had off from work and decided to want to go fish, we've had little bits of rain and sprinkles and things of that nature here and there. So again, today we're gonna go out and just embrace the rain, man. I woke up about 8 o'clock. My girlfriend's sick, not with the freaking Rona. She's been throwing up. Might have had a couple too many pickle shots, if you know what I mean. Jose Cuervo and whatnot. But I brought tons of batteries for the GoPro. I brought a rain jacket, spare clothes, because nobody likes being cold and wet. And I decided, you know what? I'm just gonna embrace this storm. It's gonna rain literally all day. It's not gonna let up. I want to go hit a couple different spots, so wanted to put the boat in today and fish a couple points that I know are on fire, but I don't want to deal with a wet, soggy boat again. So we decided we're just going to go do some shore fishing. I'm going to go park the truck and pack the backpack full of gear, about to stop by, get some Lord's chicken, and we're just going to walk a couple miles around some lakes today. Hope you guys stick with us, stay tuned, see if we can find us some giants. And this stuff on the shoreline here is a water moccasin's wet dream. They absolutely adore this, like, eucalyptus, I think it's called. With this stuff being in 2 inches of water, they're probably all over this crap. I'm trying to look at every step I take. Damn! Like the second it hit the water. Go. Look how far I had to bring this fish up. Number one. Brought a little salad up with them too. That's actually the first one of my US Army rod. I don't really know if that was the same fish that swirled the first time. That fish was practically on the shore. That was caught on my favorite pond bait, the Gambler Big EZ, the best swim bait you can pick up and chuck around. I don't know what I'm gonna do if I get one bigger than that though. That's a beast too. Get up here. Get up here. Look at that. Oh. Yeah, boy. Get you some of that on the Big EZ. Look at how big she hooked it. This is an MHX. MBB 7.4, it's a 7.3 heavy, brand new 50-pound braid and a speed spool SLP. I just muscled this 4.5-pound girth out of the junk to get her up here. So when you see them hit like that, you don't stop reeling. Oh yeah. Alright, still got the spring, that's good. That's a 5-aught Gamakatsu spring lock hook. That was again on the Gambler Big EZ, but the only thing I found with those hooks is the spring lock falls off. Look at this friggin' fish. That was awesome. That was such a cool bite. Yeah, the old US Army rod. I'm not really gonna like how I have to release this fish, but she swam off. Yep, you heard her. What a cool freaking bite that was. So this is what I was talking about, the spring lock. Like obviously the hook still is on because of the knot.
but the spring lock in here isn't secured very well to the hook. So any decent fish you have that fights usually pulls it off. So that's all it is. Usually I try to bend it just to get a little tighter, but again, any sort of fish that puts up a fight like that fish did, usually what will happen is the swim bait will come off with the hitchhiker, spiral lock, however you would like to call that piece, and you lose it and it ruins the whole hook. This corner's sick looking. Yeah, I figured that was gonna happen. How did I lose that? Really? How did I miss that? Not a huge fan of these hooks. Gamakatsu, let's talk. We'll redesign. I throw swim baits you around. I can figure out a better hook design for you. Let's talk. That fish right there bent the hook. Well, that's a perfect example of what happens. Gamakatsu, you guys got to figure it out, man. This design sucks. So the spring lock is gone. My swim bait can now no longer be fished on this hook. So we got to talk, Gamakatsu. Let's come up with a different spring lock design. That's definitely the last bag of those I'm going to be buying. So these are the hooks I speak about. These are the Superline spring locks. You can see this other one I have in here. I lost the spring last time I was fishing, so it's definitely not a hook issue. It's just a design issue with the spring lock, which is my only problem with them, because I mean, Gamakatsu, they make a good product and they've kind of been the standard for EWGs for me, like since I started fishing. Those are the only ones I brought. So we're gonna switch it up to a VMC heavy duty wide gap. And we're gonna go do some flipping on these grass edges where these fish are rolling on my swim bait. We're gonna bring a couple different soft plastics, bust out 1/8 ounce weight. It's the only size we have. I think these fish will like that slow fall. That's why I love this bag, man. It fits so much stuff in it. I thought I had more creature baits in here. Got him. I figured there'd be one on those pads, man. I flipped to those pads 13 or 14 times. He was little, but ponds like this, man, whenever there is the same cover all the way around the pond and you've got one or two different pieces of structure, you can almost guarantee there's gonna be a fish on it every time. And you take that pattern and you take it onto your local lakes and rivers. It's the same thing. When you've got 100-yard stretches on your lakes of the same structure, it's hard to pick that apart. Dock fishing, lily pads, grass, whatever. You want to look for something that's different for those fish to relate to. And that's exactly what I did right there. Just like that. That's why we flip, baby. That's exactly why. You gotta put it where the fish are. Decent one, 1.5 pounds or so. Old Donkey Kong hit. You think you've got old girl on the back end of your line. Every once in a while you dig into one, that one comes shooting out of the water a little bit. First little one. I thought this was a stinking tank. I was walking just along the shore here, trying to find manageable water that I could stand on from the bank. I saw a massive swirl right out front here, flipped to it, And I think that was a female taking off her bed, and I think I caught her boyfriend sitting, protecting the bed. So we'll see if she comes back, but he flipping nailed it. What the heck? Look. This was the next flip. I don't know what's going on in this little spot.
So yes, if you were wondering, or you guessed it, you did guess right. I did break off on that hook set on a massive swirl. There were 4 metal rods coming up right there. I don't know if that's an old dock. I assume it's part of an old culvert system that was out there. Maybe when they extended that neighborhood, they brought that culvert back. I really don't know what that piece of equipment was out in the water. Something massive was on it. And when I set the hook, it pulled to the left going out and rubbed my line against that metal rod and shaved it and was gone. Cut through it like butter and it sucked. So yeah, I was pretty heated about that, but at that point I was about 1.5 miles away from my truck. I still had a couple 3-aught hooks that you saw from the VMC, and I decided, you know what, it's the end of the day. I was catching nothing but little peckerhead 8, 10, 9 to 12 inch fish, and you know, I just getting rained on. I was soaking wet, soggy, getting, you know, a little over it. So I decided just to walk back to the truck, clean up, and get on out of there. Now what I did is I just used my phone, drove to one location, figured out kind of, you know, where I'm at as a central stop, and I was able to kind of walk and drive the truck around to certain areas. And that's kind of how I've done Google Maps my entire life. You know, you can get on your computer, your family's computer, phone, iPad, whatever, and you know, the best way to do it is kind of map out an area where you want to start. So what I can do in Google Maps is X marks the spot. By the way, this is great topography and mapping, right? So if this is where I park, I'm able to kind of figure out how far I need to walk in the best areas. Say these are the 2 ponds I'm looking at, and I'm able to just get a central location to hold my truck if I want to, you know, maybe walk through wood lines, you know, long road lines, sidewalks, whatever it is, to get to certain areas. That way I'm not risking parking my truck where I might not be able to or allowed to park that truck, or not supposed to park the vehicle. So it's a lot easier to get to areas on foot. That's kind of how I do it. And you know, when I was younger, I did the same thing. I got on my dad's laptop when he got home from work, and I'd kind of map out an area, circle where I wanted to go, circle where I would start, you know, at my house, ride my longboard or bike over to those ponds, and I just start Xing areas out. And that's exactly what I did here. I haven't printed anything out, but I save it on my phone and just use the drawing app and just kind of circle what I like in red, and then take a black and, you know, scribble out what I don't want to ever fish again. So to start with that, I was able to fish a lot of bodies of water, which was cool. Spent about 6.5 hours out there fishing, and really caught some nice fish. But I want to talk about that rod I was using. So I know custom rod building is, you know, gaining a lot of popularity to a lot of people. I know a lot of guys here. Mudhole Tackle down in Central Florida is where you can get all your rod building needs. A friend of Trevor Peters' father actually made me this rod when I was coming back from Germany, getting stationed in Georgia. And it is a 7'3" heavy, full custom U.S. Army logo rod. It's got Army Strong down there, then U.S. Army logo, and the stars on the front of the blank there. Wind grips. I mean, this rod is stout. You saw me pull that 5-pounder out of that slumpy stuff. And it's got semi-micro guides. They're not like the micros like Duckett has, where it's basically the size of the line. And I've always really liked these guides. The rod was just built so awesome, man. It's such a sturdy, well-balanced rod. It's got so much meat to it. And just paired up with a custom SLP. Literally, this is the only reel I have, by the way. I think someone finally noticed on one of my videos. They were like, wow, you like that speed spool a lot. This is the only reels I have. Literally, I have 9 of just the custom SLPs and multiple gear ratios. This is the CG1 SH, which is a 7.5 to 1 gear ratio reel. Perfect for throwing weightless or small weighted belly hooked swim bait rigs. And that's exactly what I use this rod and reel for. So just wanted to give you a little insight look at that. So like I said before, man, you can be using a laptop, an iPad, a phone, whatever. The way we're connected nowadays, it's even easier to fish multiple bodies of water. You got apps like Fish Brain, Fish Crazy, all these other fish
gnarly stuff to go and you know, find local spots around your area. But if you do have any questions on strategies or just looking for new spots in your area, be sure to leave comments in the description below. I'll be sure to answer every comment that is posted. And that kind of wraps this up there, guys. I really appreciate y'all tuning in here and watching this video. That was an absolute blast. You know, kind of bringing it back to where I started, pond hopping and utilizing maps on Google to you know, key in on the best areas. And I think that's where you can get really good, when you start figuring out, you know, better ponds and what to look for when you're finding ponds. And then, you know, when you make one day you might make the jump and start fishing lakes, or, you know, more pressured areas on a boat. You know, things kind of get a little different. It's not as easy as catching fish in ponds. So, you know, it definitely helps you with strategy and planning on where and when to fish certain areas. So again, hope you guys are following the Bachelor Your Fishing page. There's a lot of behind the scenes action goes. Hope you guys are enjoying your Memorial Day weekend, and as always, happy Memorial Day. Let's remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, their family, friends, and all of their loved ones. Until next video, hope you guys hit that thumbs up, you hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell for more awesome content here on the Bachelor Your channel. So get out there, stay safe on the water, break those PBs, and we'll see you guys right back here for another awesome video. Take care. Thanks for watching, guys.